Well, welcome back to Tennessee Frugal Craftsman. It's been a week or more since I posted a video. Actually, it's probably been closer to 2 weeks since I've actually done any work here on the property. I took a vacation and went away, and while I was gone, it was an interesting turn of events here in eastern Tennessee. Actually, all the way along the eastern seaboard. If anybody was traveling, you would have recognized that it was not the best weather for that. But we got hit by that, what did they call it, the winter bomb or whatever it was. But the temperatures here in eastern Tennessee dropped down for the best part of a week or more into the single digits. For eastern Tennessee, that's extremely cold. We might get a day or two of that, but extended for an extended period of time is very unusual. And of course, for me, I was on the road and unable to be around to actually take care of things around the house, and of course that concerned me. And I have, thankfully, I have a couple of really good friends back here in Tennessee I could call upon, and they, one kind of looked after a little bit on the house, and my other friend actually come over and looked at my mill and checked things out. What I had forgotten to do before I left, and it was just an oversight, I'd milled right up to the last day before I left, and I had meant to run some windshield washer coolant in the tanks, and I had forgotten to do that. And when I realized how cold it was, I called up my friend, and he was gracious enough to come over and actually have a look at it. The good part was I had run it pretty much out of water, and I'd done that purposely to make sure that I had room to put the windshield washer in. And so he dumped a couple cups in it, come down through the lines, and also just give you a couple pointers. I don't know whether I've shown you this, but when you do get frozen lines, tank and whatnot, there is a pretty effective way. If it's not too hard of a freeze. Now obviously if you're in Canada, that's a totally different, or northern United States, it's a very different set of circumstances. But here in eastern Tennessee, we usually don't get those hard freezes. And so I'll show you what we did to actually get this running again. What I normally do if I have frozen lines, like I said, most of the time you're going to get the weather's going to come up. Like today, it's pretty much above freezing or getting pretty close to it. And you can see, I don't know whether you can see it, this has got a little bit of blue, that windshield washer in the lines, but it had frozen in here, and from here on down was frozen. So I just popped this off, blew it out, blew the ice out, it all came out. It's already starting to defrost fairly well. I don't see any damage here on this. It would take an awful lot of very, very cold extended weather, I think, for that to get damaged. But anyway, thank God that didn't, nothing happened to that. But we got, like I said, I'd run the tank pretty much out. So it survived, thank goodness. But what I do when I get maybe a night where it's down to 20 in the 20s and I want to mill the next day, and maybe haven't got enough coolant in it, what I do is I just run this, I pull this tarp over it, tie it down a bit. Before I do, I start up the engine, and I keep the engine cranked down so the apparatus, all of the upper posts and everything, hold the tarp up off the muffler and whatnot. But I get it down quite low, pull this tarp right around it and tie it and let it run for about a half hour, and that will heat up underneath of that tarp enough. Now obviously you have to be careful with the, let the tarp hit the muffler or anything, but there's enough ventilation on the bottom, it can get out any carbon monoxide and stuff. I'm not going to stick my head in underneath there, but what it does, it heats it up, and it'll actually get all of that piping defrosted, especially that small piping can easily freeze up. And I've done that multiple times, and it has worked very well to get me up and running again. And today, technically, I would love to be out here doing some milling, cutting and milling, but I've got some things I need to do at home, and perhaps I'll share another video with that. But overall, the winter bomb, I survived it pretty well. The only thing that I need to do is repost this or reattach this. This particular post here that holds the corner of my tarp has caved in a bit, and so that's going to need some work. But well, actually in late fall, what I did is I put on a lot more ropes. Last year I only had one on each of the four corners, and every time it snowed it just pulled it down. But this, you can see I've got multiple ropes running to, on this side I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 supports, and they're on trees, they're on uprights here. I've got one over here. So it'll hold quite a bit. Now obviously if it comes down, it comes down. And then I've got that one main one attached up here over to the tree, and that actually is running along here helping to hold the whole tarp down underneath, and then runs over to the other side as well to a post on the other side over there. So that's the way I've been surviving the winter here. Now, one of my other concerns was, while I was gone, I said, okay, my mill is the first top priority. You know, what's the outcome of that? Did that survive? And like I said, my friend, you know, assured me that everything's working, and that looks great for me. So I was happy about that. But the other thing is, I've actually put in the water supply, as I think one of my earlier videos I talked about, you know, hooking up to the water meter and whatnot. And all I had done is actually just attached put in just a spigot on right off the water meter, and it's, I mean, down here in Tennessee, eastern Tennessee, you've got these water meters that are setting really almost on top of the ground. I mean, they only set them down in there 12 inches, and I know that the frost's not supposed to get down that far, but when you're getting that cold weather, you know, almost anything can happen. So what I did, and like I said, I think I've shown you before, but when I come out, this is what I was concerned about. But you can see there, I had put some 1-inch styrofoam over the top of the actual little water meter holder. It's down it's kind of an oval. I'm not going to uncover it, but and then where I put my little hose attachment out on this end, it's down there in the ground about a foot, but it's sloped off here so much there's no dirt over it. And so what I did is I put a piece of styrofoam over it, and I just started stacking leaves all over it. So it's got about a foot of depth of leaves, and then I put that plastic to keep it dry. And I was surprised. I came out here this morning and I was expecting ice in the end of that little faucet, and it was totally defrosted. Thawed out. It doesn't look like it froze in this cold weather. So styrofoam works very well. That 1-inch SM is what I put on. I'm glad I actually did that. Now at home, that's another story. My hoses all froze off. It was just one of those things that got away from me before I could actually do any get away on vacation. It just slipped my mind and never even thought of it until I got back when I got in Pittsburgh, and I was like, I may have some problems. But fortunately, my house stayed warm enough that nothing froze, thank God. And actually my hoses, I've got them in the tub right now trying to get them defrosted, and so I can drain them and put them away. But it got pretty cold here. Now, there is one other thing that I want to do before I sign off on this video, and that is just kind of alert you to an issue that I noticed just before I left on vacation. One of the concerns that actually came up, and it has to do with the offcuts. I did a video earlier, it's probably been back month and a half ago. I did a video of where I was salvaging offcuts. I think it's under the title of Money for Nothing in my Wood for Free or something like that. Anyway, what I found is that when I brought that off of that other person's property, there was mold in it. Some green mold on the surface. It had started to mold. And so I'll just show you what I have. I think you've seen this pile before. Now, on the very top where you can see the painted ends, that's where my wood that I've been cutting here off my logs, that's the stuff. But everything below it, that's what I had got off of those offcuts. And you can see that there is mold. Let's get up here close. Now, some of that's just discoloration because of the pine has a tendency to do that when it gets ages and it's not covered well. But here's kind of a good case. You kind of get some green mold and stuff, and that has concerned me. And I've been as I was traveling a bit, as I said, the last couple of weeks, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't want this stuff to spread and get into all of my wood. So I think what I'm going to end up having to do is take this and either dip it or spray it with my chemical. Now the chemical that I use, that mixture of Timbor and antifreeze, which I've done a separate video on that, and you can find that in my video library there. If you look at the Tennessee Frugal Craftsman, you'll find my process of dipping in the chemicals that I use. But that is also supposed to be for mold, fungus, and that type of thing. And so I think what I'm going to do, because I've never up to this point, I've stacked everything outside, just through sheet of plastic over the top. I don't completely encapsulate them. I let it breathe. I've had maybe the odd piece get a little bit of mold on, but it just planed off, no problem. And then when I dipped it, I've had no problem, especially with the outbuilding over here. And so I think what I'm going to have to do, I think I'm going to, at least preliminarily, before I even plane them, because that's not going to be ready for another several months, probably not until the spring, early summer, before I can plane that stuff I did this past fall. I think I'm going to have to set up and dip that material, see if I can get it to stop the molding process, or at least impede it a lot more until I get it run through the planer and get it taken off and give it another second dip. It's not my ideal, it's not something I really want to do, but I do have lots of dip here, so I think I may go ahead and just do that and bite the bullet and take a day and do it. So it's a learning process. It's one of those things, you take the chance when you're pulling material from other people's property, and I'm very cautious of what I do with my stuff. I don't let the wood set around unsticked, and if I see mold at any point, I usually burn it or get rid of it in some way. Burning is usually the best. And so, matter of fact, before I left on vacation, I burned a lot of my old stickers that I had from last year, because they get wet, they start to mold. I didn't want to put that on my lumber. So that's where the Tennessee Frugal Craftsman is on this 27th day of December, 2022, coming up on the end of 2022. And so I will try to do another video, hopefully a little later today, on I've got to go back to my property or back to my home and actually try to get my wash machine working, because with 5 kids it's pretty hard to go without a wash machine. And something I had to order a new pump, but I'm not sure whether it's the pump or whether it's a clogged line or something. So I'm going to go and try to get that fixed. So until next time, you can join me as always on all my other videos. You can join and follow along. But as I always say, please like and subscribe, and if you would, spread the word. We are now at the point I've surpassed 1,000 subscribers, so finally gone monetized. But I really appreciate it when you join. I know there's so many other places you could be and things you could be doing, but I appreciate you joining with me and following me along in the process. And so be looking for some more videos coming up here in the next few days. Until then, you have a great day.